Welcome to the Brian Murray Show, a real estate show, New Jersey style. This is episode 8. Thanks for watching. And today's discussion point is going to be about this place matters. Now, you might see in some towns where you'll see little plaques that'll say, oh, this place matters, or local this or local that, little designations that more of the mom and pop shops have that they've been around a very long time and that they want to be recognized as, part of the community, a long time part of the overall community. Hoboken in particular has these little tags in a lot of the shops. You could think maybe things like Fiore's or Trulio's or something like that, maybe a local barber. And so these are supposed to designate that. And then the villains in all of this are the companies that are pushing out these little mom and pop shops like Anthropology, Sephora, West Elm. I've heard more times on these chat boards that who needs a Sephora, who needs a West Elm, and those are the villains. It's very strange to me that Whole Foods is never a villain. Trader Joe's is never a villain. Apparently, the Stop and Shops, the Acmes, or of the world are not mom and pops. But I'm sure there have been some mom and pop shops that have been pushed out by Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, but it's very funny that they aren't the villains. And so, why is this happening? Why are the mom and pops, this place matters people, tending to move on? And there's really three big reasons for this. Typically, the rents are getting higher and higher, and then the numbers just don't make sense for a lot of these mom and pops. And that's it's a function of their own success, of the town's own success. There's more people now. They can't raise the price of their sandwiches or their haircuts to meet the raising price that a Sephora might pay for the rent. There's also changing demographics. When the butcher opened 80 years ago, there was a need for it. Now it's all, you go to the supermarket, or maybe you order Omaha steaks online. People don't want to have to make that extra trip for the specialty store. And it's just a fact. If the volume was there, then the store would stay open. And then the third reason, and then you'll see this with a lot of the local places that have been around for a very long time, is that they're really a product of the town's own success. That their real estate is worth more than their business. If you have the local barber who's sitting on a $3 million property, he cuts hair because he likes it, not because he has to worry about paying, for groceries. Literally, it's a product of their own success, where it's easier to cash out and sell their real estate than it is to continue selling sandwiches or meats or cutting hair. And that's today's discussion topic. Today's hot topic: how's the market? I get this question a lot, almost every day, in fact. Brian, how's the market? The market, it depends, is the real answer. This show is being filmed the middle of November. Right now, the market is still in the fall market. We're about to approach the 3 slowest months of the year: December, January, and February. And I mean that in terms of the number of contracts that get written. At the end of the year, I produce a book like this, about 50 pages, and it talks about how's the overall market for the past year. And it historically goes through some of the numbers, including when are contracts written. And it shows year after year after year that fewer contracts are written between really 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving through 2 weeks after the new year. So about that 3-month period, that's where how's the market. The market is quote unquote slower, meaning that there are fewer contracts, but there's also less inventory. A lot of people take their homes off the market around the holidays, or don't put their homes on the market around the holidays because, one, they want to decorate the home. Two, they want to entertain. Three, they're not going to really be around, and they don't have time to prepare their home, stage their home, declutter their home prior to, again, putting it on the market. And being on the market can be a real inconvenience for people, especially around the holidays with all of the other things going on. So how's the market? The market, volume wise, if you compare year over year, and that's really where we should be looking, is there volume? Because if there's volume, then it's just a question of price one way or the other. Interest rates are low, that's great. The volume is still consistent, so that's great. Prices corrected last year, this year they've been consistent. Steady market is a good market. It's not what we had 7 years ago, which was a booming market, but that's booming for sellers, but tough if you were a buyer. So every market has its pluses and its minuses. Um, how's the market coming into the next 3 months? If you're a buyer, it's a great time to buy if you find the right home, because there's fewer buyers out there looking, simply because they're out doing their holiday thing too. And if you're a seller, it's also, if you're on the market, it's a good time to be on the market because you have less competition as well. And the buyers that are out in the winter time are serious. If you're in the middle of December and you're out there looking at homes, it means you want to buy a home. You're not just kicking the tires. This is How's the Market segment. Thanks. This is Brian Murray with Ask the Expert. I'm here with Hemish Kapadia, CPA. And Hemish, it's before the end of the 2019 year. For an individual, a homeowner, what are some of the things that they can do right now over the last few weeks of the year to maybe lower their taxes for the 2019 year as they start to go and flip over to 2020?
A lot of it is trying to correct what happened in 18. Because 18 was a new year, new set of tax code. A lot of people weren't prepped for it. So for 19, it's learning from the mistakes of the past, looking at it and going, okay, I should have maxed out my 401k, I should have contributed to the HSA plan, looking at maybe a traditional IRA as the income is earned and calculated. But it's also taking advantages of the above-the-line deductions. And what that means is that for those that are self-employed, the health insurance deduction, pension planning, retirement planning, in those areas, along with the tuition deduction, not tuition, but student loan interest deduction, I should say, as well as the medical on the self-employment side.
Are there any real big items that are new for 2019 that maybe we didn't see in years past that people are just overlooking?
I mean, not really in terms of that. It's really just learning from the changes and not taking full advantage of everything there.
And can people go back and retroactively redo 2018 if you've seen that they kind of missed some things?
Absolutely. I mean, you have 3 years from the date of filing to do amended tax returns.
Okay.
So anyone can have it.
And if you do an amended return, is that a red flag for an audit?
It depends on what you're changing. So if you're making a lot of changes to your Schedule C, chances are you're hitting a lot of flags that might cause an audit situation to arise. Okay. But if it's 1 or 2 changes that are documented, shouldn't be an issue.
The key here is to talk to somebody who really knows, like Hemish, and really have them look at your taxes and what they can do in prior years so that you get all the money there that is owed, but you don't have somebody knocking at the door. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today's the good. MVP Cleaners and Mr. On the corner of 2nd and Jackson Street in Hoboken was my dry cleaner for 13 years. Just the nicest person. He and his wife ran a mom and pop shop there. You know, you leave money in your clothes and you get a little baggie with money, sometimes more than $50. Never lost anything, never ruined anything. Always a pleasure to go in and talk to him. He was very much an inspiration. And it's nice when you can go into a place and they know who you are and you're excited to go there, even though it's something that's as mundane as dry cleaning. But he was the good. He and his wife retired this year, just the last month. And places like that are really, truly the good about local mom and pops in your community. The bad are the fact that mom and pops are closing, that, you know, people are retiring, that the next generation doesn't want to be a dry cleaner and doesn't want to be a barber and doesn't want to be a butcher, um, that the kids typically want to do something different than, maybe they've grown up in the business. They've worked there on Saturdays or later. Personally, I hope that maybe my one of my kids is going to be a realtor and much more successful than I could ever dream of being. Or maybe there'll be something related to that. Um, maybe there'll be something completely different too. But certainly, I have a business that, if somebody one day wants to take over, I might have to adopt someone. So that's the bad of the mom and pops in their closing. And then the ugly is really that there's a lot of mom and pops out there that just can't compete, and they don't have any idea of how to compete. When the big buy right liquor goes in down the street, the local liquor store, that they don't know how to compete. They think everything is about price, and it's not about price. I had a very good friend who ran a mom and pop hardware store, and Walmart moved in down the street, and a True Value moved in across the street, and he did better than ever because he knew it was about relationships, it was about merchandising, it was about bringing people in the store, giving them great service that they couldn't get, a personalized touch, and also offering them something maybe that they couldn't get next door or down the street. So these mom and pops that aren't competing and are going out of business and are complaining to their local government officials to not let the buy right in, or not let the Total Wines in, or not let the True Value hardware in. They're really missing the point that the world is moving past them, whether they like it or not. Because if it's not the buy right wines, or the buy right or the Total Wines, it's going to be Amazon or something like Amazon in another 5 years from now. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today's inspirational quote from Richard Branson: a big business starts small. Thanks for watching The Brian Murray Show. If you enjoyed any of it, please like me and follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, any other social media you can think of. I do welcome your comments and questions. And if there's anything in the show that you disagree about, please let me know, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.